Hey everyone, welcome back. It's another edition of the Pick Six. I'm your host, Mike Wobschall, inside TCO Performance Center in Eagan, and I have your questions right here. Let's get to work. Question number one comes from Marco in Maple Grove. Who could be starting next to Linval next year? Sheldon Richardson, Jaleel Johnson, or a free agent / draft pick? Well, I think Sheldon demonstrated he was a good fit in the Vikings defense in 2018. He was a disruptive force and a good pairing with Linval. It would be great to have him back, but remember, he's a free agent. Yes, Jaleel Johnson is a possibility, but he's also a guy who could back up Linval Joseph. Here's a guy to not forget. Jalen Holmes, a 4th-round pick out of Ohio State last year, has the potential to be a 3 technique in this Vikings defense. It'll be fun to watch his growth this offseason. Question number 2 comes from Zach in Spearfish, South Dakota. I've been hearing people talk about Adrian Peterson coming back to Minnesota if we don't re-sign Latavius Murray. Do you think this is a possibility? Well, I wouldn't call it an impossibility. Obviously, there's history with the Vikings and Adrian Peterson, and a lot of people would love to see him come back, and it made for a juicy storyline this week when Terrell Davis talked about it on NFL Network. But there are lots of considerations here. Remember, he's not the type of free agent that Rick Spielman typically goes after. He's going after guys coming off of their rookie contracts. It's a juicy storyline, but I don't know if it's going to happen. Question number 3 comes from Nathan in Minneapolis. Considering how dominant the defense has been, one thing they have struggled with is creating turnovers. What can they do differently to create more turnovers? Well, turnovers typically are a function of playing really good defense, and the Vikings have played really good defense under head coach Mike Zimmer, so eventually they will come. But keep this in mind, 24% of opponent drives against the Vikings ended in a 3-and-out. So the Vikings got off the field so quickly, it was hard to create some turnovers. With all that being said, I think this is an area the Vikings can aim to improve in 2019. Our next question comes from Beth Ann. Now that Matt Bryant has been released by the Falcons and with Dan Bailey being a free agent, do you think the Vikings are interested? Well, I think this was a simple question. With Mike Prefer as a special teams coordinator, I would have anticipated Bailey being back, but with a new special teams coordinator now in the fold, we don't know the answer to this question. Maybe we'll get some clues though next week, because new special teams coordinator Marwan Malouf has a press conference here at TCO Performance Center, and you can see it right here at Vikings.com. The next one comes from Jorge in Houston, Texas. Could the Vikings use their depth at cornerback to consider trade deals? They could listen to offers, but probably won't trade anyone unless they are blown away. Well, you're right, Jorge. The Vikings do have great depth at corner. Rhodes, Waynes, Hughes, Holton Hill, Mackenzie Alexander, very solid core of corners. Now, the Vikings might need to use that depth this offseason with Mike Hughes coming back from an injury. Additionally, this is just a good position to have depth, so I don't know if you want to trade it away if you have it. Our final question comes from Tim in New York. Why are the Vikings playing road games against both the Chargers and Chiefs next year? They were the 2 best teams in the AFC West, so wouldn't that be an unfair advantage to the Vikings? Well, Tim, remember, the schedule is on a formula or a rotation, so there's no fairness, there's no discretion at the league office about who plays where. The only discretion that can be used is when you play these teams. So the Vikings, the last time they played the AFC West in 2015, hosted the Chargers and Chiefs. That's why next year, when they play the AFC West again, they go on the road to play those 2 teams. All right, that's going to do it for this week's edition of the Pick Six. We will be back next week, so please submit your questions to the email address at the bottom of the screen. In the meantime, stay tuned to Vikings.com. Tons of great content up on the site right now, and next week you're going to hear from some of our brand new assistant coaches on the offensive side of the football, including Gary Kubiak. So stay tuned to Vikings.com for that.